UFC 311 is looking to start 2025 off with a stacked main card, headlined by a double title fight. But there's one thing that really doesn't add up at first glance, and it's the odds of Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. So let's talk about why Merab Dvalishvili is being so overlooked in this title fight versus Umar, and are these odds ultimately justified?
So let's start off with the favorite and the challenger, which is very rare in a title fight, Umar Nurmagomedov. He's an undefeated 18-0 with his best win being against Corey Sandhagen. But in terms of other notable wins for him, there really aren't any. And then we have the champion, Merab, who's on an 11-fight win streak. His best win is Sean O'Malley, but also has other notable wins over Henry Cejudo, Peter Yan, Jose Aldo, Marlon Moraes, and the GOAT, John Dodson.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things we got to talk about, like why Merab has been overlooked his whole career. And now, even though he's a champion and has garnered a certain amount of respect for beating, some of the best bantamweights of all time.
He's arguably this Umar fight away from being the bantamweight GOAT.
If he beats Nurmagomedov and adds that to his legacy, I would probably put him far and above Aljo. Because that's like kind of the other...
It's Dominic Cruz,
Aljo, yeah, those two.
And Aljo got the win from getting kneed in the head.
Exactly.
Like, I wish I could be the champion with getting kneed in the head.
So let's talk about Umar Nurmagomedov, because he has this undefeated hype, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has the last name. He has Khabib's legacy. He has Islam's legacy. He has the coach behind him. There's just so much hype.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's a deserved hype, or do you think that it's gone too far at this point?
I don't know. I think that it's probably gone a little bit too far. But Umar's still really good. Mm-hmm. He's very well-rounded, which is what we're seeing with these modern fighters coming out that are coached by Khabib.
Yeah.
And Khabib is the best coach inside of the UFC.
Yeah, exactly.
His ability to game plan for a fight, it's unreal. It's unreal. And Umar striking, we saw him be able to stand with Corey Sandhagen, who is undoubtedly one of the best strikers in potentially bantamweight history.
Yeah.
So he's got the striking, and his grappling and his ground game and his wrestling is probably on par with Merab, if not better.
Yeah, Umar has like all the tools. If anyone's going to beat someone like Merab, who I would say is a dominant fighter in pretty much his last 5 or 6 fights, it's going to be Umar, because he has the cardio with training with Coach Khabib and in that gym. Like, all those guys work unbelievably hard.
Yeah, 5 rounds is nothing. And if we look at their fight this summer versus Sandhagen,
the pace was unbelievable.
The pace was unreal, and even in the 5th round, like, they just kept on going.
Yeah, and Umar pretty much won every round.
Yeah.
Right? He was not slowing down. He was always the one pushing the pace and going for takedowns, whereas Sandhagen was more the one rolling out of positions and not pushing the pace. Mm-hmm. He was very static.
So in terms of his hype, like, I think that it's probably gone a little bit too far, just because he only has, in terms of resume, the win over Sandhagen. Not like he's fought in a championship fight before. He's still only, 18-0? But with most of those fights not being side of the UFC, very much Dagestani of him. But
Dagestani of him.
there is 100% undoubtedly reason for there to be hype behind Umar, but it might be a little bit too far up against a guy like Merab, especially, who is dominant.
Yeah, he's just a smothering force. And before this, there hasn't really been a game plan to beat him. Like, obviously there's, you can strike with him and you can defend takedowns. That's what Sean O'Malley was trying to do. But Sean O'Malley's a lot longer than Umar. He's a lot taller. He has a lot more striking experience. So you'd think that he would have a better idea of how to stop that advance, but he couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at a completely new game plan to beat both of them, because Umar's never been beaten before either.
No.
Right? So Merab has to game plan with his guys. How do you take down? He has one friend, Aljo. How do you take down this undefeated, hyped up prospect who can strike, who can grapple, who has maybe as good of a gas tank as you do? What advantage do you have over him? Yeah,
that's like the thing that's the biggest for me, is that you could look at this fight and say that Umar is just as good, if not better, than everything that Merab has.
Yeah.
And the difference in the striking is huge.
Yeah, so let's talk about the odds, because Umar opened as what I would say a pretty heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Right? And Merab, having all this win streak behind him and having a lot of dominance his last performances, I was expecting this to be pick'em odds. Like, you have Umar, who's the undefeated challenger, but you have Merab, who's on this great win streak and who has wins over way, way higher level people consistently.
Yeah, but I think if you look at this from a betting perspective, if it was even odds, like if they were right around 100, everyone's going on Umar.
Yeah.
Is the thing. So it like, I think that it might be a little bit extreme with it was like minus 250 for Umar. I think it was around there. It was realistically probably more like a minus 175 to plus 150. But the odds are the way that they are for a reason. They're going to go up and down depending on whatever. If everyone starts betting Merab, they're going to shift. So
yeah, Merab's not a bad bet right now.
No.
But it's not safe either.
It's not. Realistically, I'm going into this fight. I like to give percentages of what side, like of how confident I am that they're going. I'm probably about 60% on Umar just because I know he has the intangibles to go out there and beat Merab, but also Merab has been dominant. And as much as we hate it, because he's boring, he's not really the champion that we want. Umar has only beat Sandhagen.
Yeah.
And we see fighters like this go up there and, no, I wouldn't call this a fraud checking, but get fraud checked.
Yeah. Like, remember how BSD opened as the favorite against Poirier? And we just saw a completely different level.
Yeah.
BSD hasn't faced the Corey Sandhagen of his division, right?
Exactly.
But I think it is similar how you think it's the changing of the guard. It's time for the new guy to come in and they have a lot of hype. Like, it happens more oftentimes than I can count.
Yeah.
Right. So Merab definitely has a great shot at winning this fight. Especially, I think it kind of lit a fire under him being this underrated. I think he's kind of been underrated his whole life, and that's what kind of pushes him to keep going.
Fighting from the bottom always.
Exactly, and he likes that. But Umar, what I'm so impressed with, other than his entire fighting package, is how calm he is in the press conferences, in the fight build-ups, in the interviews. Like, for how young he is, he's very impressive.
Have you seen his last name? That's how it goes.
True.
Except for all of a sudden, Sean O'Malley's going to say something and he's going to be hopping the cage.
That'd be great.
Uncle Habib.
Khabib's going to be fighting Tim Welch.
That also ages so bad with him going to fight Dylan Dennis, who at this point is an absolute just meme.
Remember when Dylan Dennis couldn't stop talking about how him and Connor always trained together and they were friends, and then someone's like, well, call him. And he's like, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just call him. He's not your friend then, dude. Let's talk about the pace and the cardio. Umar's had one 5-round fight in the UFC. Merab's had... How many? Let's talk about how we see this fight playing out, Dylan. So there's the wrestling, the striking, and then the cardio. How do you think the wrestling exchanges are going to go? Who do you think that favors?
I think in terms of, with both of these fighters being such good wrestlers, it's going to play out very similar on the ground to, I think, of a recent fight like an Evloev versus Sterling. You know, where Evloev isn't as dynamic and trying to be offensively grappling like Sterling, and I'm considering Merab's going to be closer to Evloev, like trying to get that control time numbers, whereas Sterling in that fight was kind of trying to do a little bit more with that.
Right.
And we'll have Umar in this fight. So we'll have Umar trying to be a little bit more active and offensive, and try to maybe get some ground and pound while he's down there. You know that they love to ground and pound. And Merab's going to be going for that control time. I honestly think that we may not see a ton of wrestling until maybe the third round on. I think that they might stay on the feet for a while, and maybe Merab will shoot at the end or Umar will shoot at the end, just kind of mix it up and have like the advantage in the takedown department for each round. But with these guys at full gas tank, it's going to be hard to keep them down.
Yeah, to hold them down.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult. Also, how weird is it going to be to see someone shoot a takedown on Merab?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah. Do you think he'll pass GSP for the most takedowns ever shot? Because I think he's like 6 away, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Sorry, is it takedowns attempted or takedowns landed?
It might be takedowns landed.
Because could he get 6 on Umar?
No, but he'll keep fighting.
Yeah.
Not in this fight.
I was talking about if he would have.
Okay. I don't, honestly, over-under on 6 takedowns? Under 6 takedowns for Merab. I would take that bet. Like 6 is a lot. That's over 1 per round. Mm-hmm. And typically when you have 2 wrestlers, they're not taking each other down over and over again. They're working on the ground, even if they are up against the fence. It's usually on their knees. So it's going to be interesting to see the wrestling battle. I think Umar can hopefully match Merab's pace and aggressiveness on the ground, and maybe even outclass him a little bit.
If we're looking at wrestling, though, I think I would give the edge to Merab, just because we've seen him just completely dominate so many guys on the ground. And Umar versus Sandhagen, he looked good on the ground, but he also just looked so good on the feet that he didn't even need the ground game hardly,
Yeah.
So we have Merab's wrestling has been more tested against ranked opponents.
Especially against someone like Cejudo, someone who's a gold medalist and who had good wrestling in the UFC, like really good wrestling. And then Merab just went out there and kind of ragdolled him at the tail end of his career. So it's a good test. But I think, yeah, you're right. Merab just has had more experience in MMA for wrestling. Merab can do it all, though. Merab has great striking, which is where things start
Great.
Good.
Good striking.
Yeah, it's not elite like a Sean O'Malley or but he did beat Sandhagen in the striking. So like what it's tough. Dagestani striking is always one of the most weird things to talk about because they beat guys like Dustin Poirier in the striking with Islam, and then they beat people like Corey Sandhagen in the striking with Umar. But at the same time, you have to think about how much the takedown attempts play in someone's mind. They are so scared to go for offense, and they're always thinking about stuffing a takedown and reacting. They're being reactive.
Hands are down here.
Exactly. They're being reactive instead of playing out their own game plan. And, you can game plan for a fight all you want, but when you're in the ring, sometimes things go out the window. So it is all about experience. Umar has much more striking experience than Merab. Almost ironically, Merab's debut to get into the UFC, he had a crazy highlight KO. And that's what got him the contract. And then he just was like, all right, I'm chilling now.
Time to lay and pray. I think, too, like, the biggest factor for me in this fight is honestly Khabib. Like, I think in terms of skill sets, these guys are very equal. But having Khabib as your coach, like, I know we already kind of mentioned it earlier, but like, I think his ability to set up the game plan mid-fight. But if Umar looks real bad in the first round, there's a new game plan, And Khabib has the greatest mind in UFC history. I don't think that Makhachev executed the original plan versus Poirier. In the original plan, who knows if they had it go in 5 rounds, you know?
Yeah.
And then Khabib was like, "Oh, you could strike with them, strike."
No, I think Makhachev sometimes strays away from Khabib.
Yeah, it's not like Umar. Like Umar's gonna listen to whatever Khabib says.
Yeah, I love the video of Khabib headlocking Umar in one of the fights that he's watching. He's so nervous. Yeah, Khabib is a great coach and he's great. Like pushes them so hard. Never gives them days off.
Yeah, they all have to be excellent.
Yeah,
and it's not that they don't want to be, like they want to be. Like
but
he just sets up this culture of excellence.
Yeah, they wouldn't be at the level they were without Khabib, though.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be training that hard.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a couple more other random points. Does Umar have any recency bias with the fans, with some more of his flashy finishes over lower-ranked opponents?
100% Umar has recency bias.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be negative, but he obviously has recency bias with only having one ranked win, and before that, people weren't really talking about him, and all of a sudden he's fighting Sandhagen.
Yeah, like he got into the rankings, debuted, I think, around number 13 or 12.
I think it was 12 or 13.
12? Yeah, with a win over someone who wasn't ranked. So even then it was like, oh, the UFC obviously rates him very highly, and then he gets that shot against number 4 or number 3 ranked guy even, Corey Sandhagen. So he's had a fast rise, to say the least. Is there any real bad blood in this fight, and do you think they'll make it up?
I don't know if there's like real bad blood, because most of the time it's not real. It's very rare that there's actual bad blood between the two fighters, but they're obviously going to try to kill each other. So they're trying to create these narratives in their heads that I need to inflict mass damage amongst this man.
Yeah, I think Merab actually like very unintentionally and easily pisses people off. Just he's so annoying. Like he pissed off Cejudo, he pissed off O'Malley, he's pissed off Umar now. Or not pissed off Umar, but he's gotten, Umar's really gotten under his skin.
Yeah.
And then he's retaliating back at Umar. So in the last couple of his fights, he's really created some interesting storylines just by being like an annoying personality.
Yeah, like I think he's a man who gets under your skin.
Yeah.
It creates this whole sense of, oh, he doesn't like him, but like who would like him,
All Joe.
Yeah, like I think we're definitely going to see some interesting things from the press conference, because I think Merab is going to try to crack Umar, who has showed that he can stay very calm.
Yeah.
Especially with him being 30 years old. Like his ability to stay calm, where if that same stuff has happened to Sean O'Malley's saying, bah, bah, bah.
Yeah.
Blur that out, please, editor.
No.
And then for Umar, like, I don't really see him trying to go in and start beef. That's not what they do.
No,
like,
it's not him.
It's not what they strive for in their gym. It's not what their like culture, their family stands for. But
If it comes to them,
if
then
it
they'll
comes
do something.
to it, and he gets really Merab says some things that get really under his skin.
It would be hilarious.
See Umar just crash out.
But even
all of a sudden you see Khabib flying out of nowhere.
But even like the hot tub comment, like it didn't make them that mad. I feel like that's like, that's something.
That's hilarious.
I know, it is hilarious. It is funny, but it could have made them mad. You never know.
I love hot tub jokes. Finally, what is next for both of these fighters, win or lose? Let's start off with Merab. With a win over Umar, who does he fight next?
It's probably Peter Yan. Peter Yan's done enough in the last year. He has 2 wins consecutively in 2024. So if he holds out and doesn't have another fight because he's already like really high up in the rankings, so there's not much need for him, they could run back that Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan fight to do a number 1 contender fight. And then the winner of that fight fights for the belt. So, but I think Peter Yan is more likely to fight for the belt because he hasn't had that chance. Well, but he has had a chance against Merab when he wasn't the champion and he got dominated.
Yeah.
He did worse than O'Malley.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Peter Yan, who typically can, get his own takedowns and mix things up, just gets dominated 50-45. So I would prefer to see a Sean O'Malley rematch because there, like we talked about, there's always that chance of something happening with a accuracy striker like Sean O'Malley. And as for Umar, if he I should talk about if Merab loses. If Merab loses, I think he's going to have to fight a Peter Yan again, or even someone a little bit lower like Davison Figueiredo. They could do that. I think he's going to have 1 or 2 fights to get back to that title, just because there is a couple guys who deserve it.
Yeah, so for me, Merab with a win here, I think you have to replay that Sean O'Malley rematch. I think it's a different story if Figgy beat Yan. That's a fight we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
But with Yan being right there, but the way that it happened last time, it's just like, it's tough, and you can make the case that it was 48-47 against Sean O'Malley, so just a closer fight. Sean O'Malley has the bigger name, especially if Sean O'Malley can go and beat someone like a Sandhagen in his next fight, then it's like, why would he not get the shot? And then Merab loses, it's got to be Figgy. That's like one of the only fights at the top of bantamweight that we haven't seen from Merab, and with both guys coming off the loss. Moving on to Umar with the win. There's
only one fight to make. I think the Sean O'Malley fight's the biggest fight you can make. If the UFC, they've ignored rankings all the time. They've always done it. So I see no reason why they would ignore Peter Yan's win streak and just give it to Sean O'Malley, even if he doesn't.
It's only 2.
Yeah, even if he doesn't have another win.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's a super fight.
We want to see that.
Exactly. Or they do a Pantoja fight.
That is true.
I could see that happening for his first defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Umar with the loss, where does he go?
With a loss, I think he still fights. I think a Peter Yan fight would be amazing if Sean O'Malley gets that title shot against Merab. I think the next logical thing is to do Umar versus Peter Yan. That is a banger.
I don't love that. I think that you have him fight a little bit lower.
Dude, who cares?
I think Figgy or...
No, if he puts up... Yeah, Figgy would be good. But if he puts up a good performance, people aren't going to care. 48-47, split decision.
The one guy I'm surprised that Umar never fought was Aldo. That's just such a good name to add to all these up-and-coming bantamweights resumes.
Yeah.
They're holding on to... They're holding on to Aldo just so Peyton Talbot can beat him, Chiwiwi can beat him. All those up and coming bantamweights can just go beat Jose Aldo.
Yeah,
Add this to your resume.
Exactly. Clip farming.
All right, that is going to wrap it up for us today. Go down to the comments. Give us hot takes for a future video, your own hot takes, so we can react to them. While you're down there, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See ya.